All right, how's it going, everybody? It's 6:24. It's Wednesday, and you guys are in store for the next exciting installment of market recap or whatever I call this thing. Anyways, all right, so let's get rolling here with the indexes. Just to kind of set context here, I'll probably be using the Nasdaq the most here. This is kind of the long term pattern here. I think that there's a realistic. I mean, you can kind of see here. We've got this sort of overthrow situation here with this longer term sort of pattern. But as soon as you got that, you started to see a lot of selling pick up. And this is over the last couple of days here. I also kind of wonder too, this ticker might be missing some volume with all this buying here. I think for maybe like a week or two, it was missing some volume. So that's not entirely representative, but volume has been really high since March. So the big story here is really kind of what happens when you see these sorts of breakouts. This purple line is that's the 50 daily moving average. This is a 200, and typically what you see with these sort of patterns here, this overthrow, is that you see some support initially on the 50 daily moving average, and then ultimately you can see a reversal back down. And typically what you see is what's called an overthrow. So you can see something kind of go like this, and then eventually it continues down, or it does something kind of like this and stays aloft. But so I think pretty much where we're at right now is the longer term upper trend line here that's been recently broken through. I think there's just a lot of distribution up here, a lot of selling, as you can see here with all this higher volume, and kind of what we're going through right now is I'll try to sketch this out. I think this is sort of a after today's price action, it really does kind of look like this out here. It really does kind of look like an ending pattern that's developing. Oh, yeah, you got a question?
Your chart's not up.
Oh, crap. Thank you. Oh, man. I would have done the whole thing. I would have just kept on going. Yeah. All right. Okay. Oh, God. All right. So that's a shameful display of chartsmanship here. Okay. So let me. My wife's laughing in the background. What a moron. Anyways, so I'll try to just touch on this. This is the Nasdaq and kind of what it looks like. You have an overthrow, and what I was talking about before. Sometimes you can see an overthrow that corrects itself to the bottom like this, bounces off, and then heads lower. I think that's probably what you'll see, but not today or not this week. Everything's usually bullish until the 4th of July or slightly after. You do have some quarterly rebalancing here, and I don't think it's an accident that the last couple days of June here is finishing right around all-time highs. We still have a lot of volume, as you can see on the chart here. So zooming in, what I thought was good to show, as I draw up everything, what I thought was good to show here was kind of what this pattern looks like. So before I was thinking, maybe this is a wave 3. I don't know if the market's quite ready for that yet. We did bounce on this 50-day moving average. That's the purple line. The turquoise line here, that's the 200 moving day average. And if I take out all these lines and everything, you can see it's starting to look kind of like a consolidation triangle. Now, these are usually a means to an end, but I kind of don't think the sellers are quite done yet. There was a short squeeze after hours here, and here, let me go down a click. So I think probably for the next couple of days we're going to be trading within this range. It's kind of annoying, I guess, but it is what it is. We get some good movement to the downside here. I do see a 5 wave, like a 5 wave sort of structure here. What's nice though is when you do some measurements here, it did stop right at this 0.5 retrace, and I guess what we can typically assume here. Let me just tighten this up. Is that if it holds, which It might not. That squeeze at the end of the day was pretty savage, I guess. But if you hedged or whatever, if you had some stop orders, probably wasn't super bad. But in these consolidation zones, I think this is actually a very safe level to either long or short. I would probably prefer more short at this time, just because there's going to be some sort of attempt to get back to where where that big squeeze happened, which it really did happen like right after hours. So options and all those other positions can be trapped. So there's two paths I see here. Again, this is still looking kind of like a longer term sort of just like a lot of overlapping things. Sorry, drew that wrong. A lot of overlapping things here, but you can also make the argument that there's usually 5 of these ABCs within the triangle. So I would say I'll cover the bullish scenario first. The bullish scenario is something along the lines of this. So you could see possible selling and ultimately like a recovery back to where we were, and then potentially I move probably up here to the point of control. You can see that there's a massive amount of sell delta here. I also do think too, with like quarterly rebalancing, you're probably going to see some jockeying for position here. It's certainly possible you could see like the A wave move up a little bit, and then maybe maybe have a shallow sort of correction or something like that, or sorry, like a shallow retrace, and then you get move sort of like this. I really don't think there's going to be much more than that. There's really no catalyst for like a major psych out move up. Even though this triangle can resolve and probably will resolve to the upside, I still think that this is like a longer term distribution pattern. Sorry, not longer term, but it's more of like a it's a month long distribution pattern here. But they've already distributed a whole lot. If you look back, after that monster rally we had, this was the big this was the big distribution pattern here. A lot of volume traded hands. Yes, there was some accumulation you can see, but the volume itself that was traded up here, a lot of that was pretty heavy. So you get this final wave up here. With all these wave counts, you can pick out 5 waves, and I don't necessarily think it's going to be I don't know how far this is going to run, because we've kind of broken the low, and typically when you break the low of like the prior wave high, that typically means you're either in a new corrective cycle or you're beginning some sort of longer term pattern that's not quite clear yet. So I'm going to err on the side of caution and try to just say that we're going to play it by ear here. So I'm a big fan of symmetry when it comes to patterning, patterns and just charting in general, especially on the higher time frames. So like 1 hour, 2 hours, daily, they always seem to be a little bit more symmetrical. So to kind of, I guess, push on that point, that is the bull case scenario here, and I don't really see much else. Maybe a little bit lower, maybe a little higher. We never really know, but I'll update the charts and call it as yet. So for the symmetry comment, I think there's a good possibility we could see something like this, where the triangle fills out a little bit more, and you get a little bit more range. You don't always typically see this, but I think it's it's some decent pattern expansion. And if draw some fibs here, so that if it stops there, which it might not, I'll probably head up to the 0.16 or 618 here, and you probably see something maybe like this, where it stops on like maybe just a little bit of extension here. It kind of stops on this 786 level. So that's about 28,677. If I pull up the S&P, the S&P looks a little bit different. It still looks like like a triangle here, but I'll draw it just a little differently. So this one, I don't think it has really finished its first move, and that might be the same for Nasdaq. But I do think you might see like one more of these sub, like these sub waves down here. And if it is a triangle, or if it stays to be a triangle, you'll probably see a lot of buying here. So that's right around this like 72.65 level. Here, actually, let me tighten that up. Around there, I guess you could say. So 72.65, that's probably fine. But if it does end up breaking down something like this, where you get down about 71.80 or 71.81, then the pattern changes a little bit, and then you could get something like a flag like this, and then it would, I feel like that would set up a pretty decent launch higher here, maybe to like 7,700. But that should be like a final sort of move. So I'd say that's probably like the short-term bear scenario. It's kind of hard to tell if you will see something like this, just because we did have that squeeze today. So sometimes if it seems a little too easy, then it probably is like it's probably a trap. So if you look at like Nasdaq here after hours, you're seeing at least some sort of, I don't want to show you the chart. You're still seeing some sort of resistance here. That's a lot of high volume there. But long story short here, this is really the bear scenario. So I guess it's probably not as inspiring as some other charts, but you really have like you really have some sort of confluence here where it could go either way. I'm erring on the bear side just because, again, of quarter end, and it's been a truly monster quarter. If you think about it, we came from at the end of the last quarter, and then in one quarter's worth of time, we went from low lows to this pretty extreme highs, 35%. Like, come on, guys, that's ridiculous. Quite the quarter. So I think you're going to see a little bit more profit taking. This to me just screams greed. I know we participate in the markets and stuff, but it's like, really, like, don't tell me AI is going to do all that much. I'll even show you guys a funny stocks chart here. I was actually showing this to my wife the other day, just to kind of set context. Here, let me move all the drawings. I will set this to logarithmic and the day. So, and if you zoom out a little bit, or sorry, it's going to do week. There you go. That's a logarithmic chart for you. Don't tell me that's not a bubble. Like, come on. Okay, so that's my fun for the day. You can see this. How much did this actually go up in percentage points? From its absolute low, 8,447%. Man. All right. So enough of that. So I don't want to beat it to death here. I think hopefully it makes sense. Really, my check and balance today. I covered both bull and bear scenarios. I will publish some more charts here. I think tonight's probably going to be, middle of the week, midpoint for patterns. Typically is the case. That's why I like doing the webinars on Wednesdays, especially like when futures open, because it really is like the midpoint, and you can see a flip, start to form almost immediately. But I don't typically take the first hour or two of futures as what's going to happen for the rest of the night. Sometimes you get like a bit of a dip, and then it gets bought up right away, that kind of thing. But anyways, I will update the charts and send some more stuff tomorrow. I think you just need to give it a little bit more time. I kind of thought something might happen today. Like, there was a lot of buying accumulation down here, yesterday and also today. And then you kind of see, you still got some heavy selling, but sellers just kind of let them rip it up right after hours, and it did travel quite far. But that was just for the Nasdaq. For the S&P, it didn't really move much. And when you look at something like the Dow didn't really move at all. So the Dow's just been kind of grinding and consolidating up here. It did have a nice run this morning, but most of that got sold back down. All right, now let me talk about some of the other good ones. All right, Nasdaq. Oh yeah, that chart's a mess. I'll pick that one up, or I'll fix that one up. So yields. This is very interesting. Because I think it's because oil has been falling, but also I think you might be seeing some purchasing of bond. Excuse me. You might be seeing some purchasing of bonds as part of portfolio restructuring. Excuse me. Portfolio restructuring for like the end of the year, or sorry, like the next quarter, potentially for the end of the year. A lot of those guys have some pretty steep unrealized losses. With the yields going up, from let's see here, going down from like 4.2 up until the last couple of days here, it's been like 4.5. So that's quite the range that rates have traveled. Rates used to be a very boring trade, but starting to heat up a little bit with some of the inflation talk. All right, gold's been getting unnecessarily hammered. I feel like it's going to be an awesome buying opportunity, really. I mean, I can already now kind of see we've got like 5 waves down here. It might not be like a 5-wave count, but this is just one sort of count option. Another one that's kind of sticking out to me is something like this. You can kind of see that there's an ABC within it. So this actually looks a little bit more likely. But you're starting to see a little bit more buying here. I think probably what you'll see, I'll do my crayon drawing. You might see like a bit of a bounce, and then you could see something like that. But in my opinion, I think that's going to really just set up quite the run here. I mean, you could probably see 1,000 points in gold if it does hit that bear target 2 or go slightly below. So that would be cool. Silver, I think, is getting close to bottom here. It's all oversold. Silver's oversold. Gold is oversold. And I picked up a couple of like that. Excuse me again. Picked up a couple of silver call spreads, like call debit spreads, just for fun money account kind of thing. Not just because it's oversold, just because it seems to be like getting close to a pattern low. So like these are like this bear target 1 is a measurement. It could go a little bit lower, sure, but I think that once all the metals kind of like they kind of all bottom together. Same thing with just commodities in general, like energy and metals and stuff, like those different like big sectors. They all typically are kind of joined at the hip. But anyways, like gold and silver, I think you will see some sort of bounce back from the bottom. Whatever got it to rocket before, it could do it again. So that's typically not how commodities trade, just leaving it stranded like that. So I do think that you're going to get a pretty bullish cycle here, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen now. You just got to kind of weather the storm a little bit until you see some accumulation and some more buying. For oil, so oil's been kind of just slowly grinding down here, but I think the big thing that everybody's been missing is we have to refill those strategic reserves, and still not 100% of the ships are going through the strait with the Iran conflict stuff. They've got deals and things signed or whatever, but I just think there's going to be something that's going to happen here. There's been enough accumulation. You can kind of see here as it's been going down here. It seems kind of seems to happen maybe like twice a year, where you get these just big spikes in oil or like gas just because of something. And usually it's probably it's probably the institutions that have been picking up all these shares as it's been declining, so they can get out of their positions. But I think patience here will be rewarded. So oil, gas is kind of its own different story, but metals and oil. If you're concerned about heading down a little bit more, and you have you've already averaged in a lot, you don't want to add more to your position. That's totally reasonable. Just practice risk management. Maybe pick up some shares of an inverse or something, or a couple of puts, or something like that. If you're concerned about it. So gas here, it is still a bullish pattern. It's just not really committing. So I do see a lot of low volume though, but it also could coincide with gas contracts and things like that. You always kind of see like a tail at the end here. You can kind of see it repeats. But we're getting really close here, and I think you'll probably get some sort of price adjustment soon, or there's just a lot of accumulation. But anyways, we are getting closer to September, and that's typically when you see some more gas accumulation, or higher prices of gas. Bitcoin has been just getting murdered. It did make a lower low today? It did. Okay. Yeah. So there you go. So if it made a lower low, and we did get a bit of a bounce here, I would expect that to be retested again. It's really just been like a tiny little low. I kind of think you might see something like this, but I'm also gonna. I think what I'm gonna do is start to feather in some GLD, not GLDI. What is it? BTCI. Just a quick sort of view. They do have a pretty decent dividend, and as this price keeps going lower and lower, it's starting to look pretty good. I still want to have a little bit of patience. I don't want to just dive headfirst into something like that, especially since if it is a low, you'll probably see some sort of consolidation before you see something like that. But again, these pay very awesome dividends, so it's something to consider. Bitcoin, all right, yeah. So Bitcoin, I think, is really just been nothing but beat up. This level here, this bear target one. Sorry, no, it's a little cluttered. This little bear target one. This is the 0.618 retracement for like the entire rally that Bitcoin had. So I do think that it's a good entry point, and even if it goes down to like 42, like that to me is like or a little bit lower, even like that to me is more of a good entry point for like a long-term, like dividend paying type of fund. So like if you're not speculating with it, like you're not trading futures contracts, or you're not trading, like you're not doing like leveraged funds, that kind of thing, you really reduce a lot of that risk, a lot of that like speculation risk. So if you're planning to hold on something for quite some time, you want to look for good entries with that. That's also why I added like a lot of those food processors and stuff like Campbell's a while back. See if I can pull it up here real quick. Yeah, so you can kind of see stuff like this where Campbell's is like they pay a dividend, and they've gotten totally destroyed for no reason whatsoever. I mean, all they do is just make soup. So if I pulled it up on my other charts, I could show you like Graham's number, but a lot of these companies are well under book value. Just wanted to touch on these quick, like Rocket Labs is a little high, but you see something like UNFI, like this one's a little bit high. I probably scale out of that one. Like ConAgra here, they just keep getting beat up down here, but you do see some decent buying once you start to see these. Once you start to see this sort of accumulation behavior down here, it's definitely well under its book value. Same thing with Kraft Heinz. I think Alex was talking about that the other day in his channel. It kind of does look like an inverse head and shoulders here. We also got a weekly buying signal here. Again, these pay dividends, and these are I think they're at pretty decent lows, long-term lows, and that's if you're worried about recession or something like that, like that's what you want to look for, are these these really low entry points where you plan to buy and hold it for a while, and then also it's well below book value. So if you're looking at like fundamental valuations, I know that's the F word around here, fundamental valuations. but they will matter eventually. So anyways, that's that. Stocks here. This one, this is really just the only thing that's pumping up the market at the moment. We got a big gap here. Highly likely it's going to close, but it might not close just yet. Like I mentioned before, I think the seller's going to probably step in and at least take it down half before it goes back up again. But this one is almost pretty reliable for any dip being bought because it really just it does move the market. Nvidia, they're probably due for a bounce. You could probably see, I think I mentioned 196 in my post today, but you'll probably see something like this before you see a continuation. But ultimately, it's still tracking. I would expect it to kind of hit up against its 50 moving day average, and continue or like continue to have that be resistance. I do see like a head and shoulders here. Tesla has been, I feel like, unfairly punished. But we're getting to some very, we did hit the bear target 1. So I would like to pick up some more, what is it, TSLQ or TSLL, whatever the long one is. I want to pick up some more of that for like a longer term kind of hold. I think it might go maybe a little bit lower here, maybe like 370. But overall, I still think that this is still a longer term bullish structure. And, this C leg down here, I think is kind of playing out. Also, the volume is getting a little bit lower. Typically when you see, the volume kind of dry up here, that's when you should get ready for a pump. So that's kind of it. Any questions, comments, concerns, or gripes? Funny jokes, I guess. Okay. Well, yeah, we keep it short and sweet today. And all right. Well, if you guys have any questions, let me know. Send me a DM or put it in discussion, and I'm happy to answer them. Until next time. All right. Thanks everybody for watching. Appreciate it. And we'll see you next week.